Today we have the privilege of honoring a man who has accomplished so much in his life. Justice Page, would you please come forward? Justice Alan C. Page has tackled each opportunity with grit, tenacity, and a bold attitude that he could and would do whatever he set out to do. Justice Page grew up in Canton, Ohio, and received his BA in political science from the University of Notre Dame. At Notre Dame, he led the school's football program to the 1966 national championship. And in 1993, he was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Justice Page was well known for his football skills, both in college and the NFL. Justice Page was a first-round draft choice of the Minnesota Vikings in 1967. And played for the Vikings until 1978. The last 3 years of his football career was with the Chicago Bears. Okay. We have Vikings and Bears fans in the room. While playing for the Vikings, he attended law school and received his JD from the University of Minnesota. After graduation, he worked as an attorney at a law firm in Minneapolis, then served 7 years as an attorney in the office of the Minnesota Attorney General. After his football career, Justice Page sought election to the Minnesota Supreme Court and won. He served there for 23 years as the court's first African-American justice. In 1988, Justice Page and his beloved wife, Diane, founded the Page Education Foundation, which assists Minnesota students of color in their pursuit of post-secondary education. To date, the foundation has awarded $15 million in grants to 7,000 students. And of course, Hamline University students have benefited from this foundation. In just the last 4 years, Hamline students have been awarded over $135,000 from the Page Education Foundation. Justice Page has received numerous honors and awards over the years, including the Presidential Medal of Honor. And I'll just say this, in his spare time, what little spare time he has, he has written 3 children's books with his daughter, Cammie. Because we've been taking the lead for 165 years, we at Hamline University know leadership when we see it. And we're a better nation because of Justice Alan Page. Therefore, by the powers vested in me by the Hamline University Board of Trustees, I present you, Justice Alan C. Page, the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters honoris causa, with all the rights, privileges, and honors thereunto appertaining on this 18th day of May 2019.
President Miller, members of the board, faculty and staff, family and friends of the graduates, and yes, the class of 2019, thank you for the warmth of your welcome this morning and for allowing me to share my thoughts with you on this very special occasion. Thank you also for the honor you bestow on me today. As I've said before, I'm never quite sure whether I am worthy of such recognition, but whatever I've accomplished would not have been possible without the help and support of others. Most important of those others is Diane Sims Page, the love of my life and life partner. A woman whose quest for racial, gender, and social justice knew no bounds, and who encouraged, allowed, and inspired me to be more than what I might otherwise have been. I should also mention those 7,000-page scholars who are my heroes. Through their service to young children as tutors, mentors, and role models, they have created hope and in the process changed the future. On behalf of all of those who have contributed to who I am honored to become a member of the Hamline family with its rich history. Given that history, I note with pride that the Page Foundation has had a long relationship with Hamline. One of our first graduates, Eric Goodlow, was a Hamline graduate. Since 2009, 87 of our scholars have attended Hamline, 14 of whom are current students, and 2, Desai Robinson and Haley Green, are members of today's graduating class. Thank you, Desai and Haley, and also Indaria Falana, who graduated last fall, for all you have done to make the world a better place. Certainly, when I was sitting as a graduate, whether for my undergraduate or my law degree, it would not have occurred to anyone present that day that one day I might be speaking to your graduating class as a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The degree that is conferred upon you today will alter the course of your future in ways both known and unknown. And like the path that brought me to this moment, the path that each of you take to the future will provide an opportunity for you to accomplish that which you never thought possible. The key to whatever success I've had can be found, as I said before, in the support of others, but also in an unwillingness to be satisfied with playing to the level of the competition, a willingness to push beyond my self-perceived limitations, a willingness to be involved in the community around me, and in preparation. Thinking about preparation, I'm reminded of my law school experience, during which I learned some pretty important lessons about preparation. Instead of lecturing, the contracts professor I had believed strongly in the Socratic method, which, as you may know, entails asking questions of those who are under-enlightened to help lead them to enlightenment, and includes a little intimidation along the way. I have vivid memories of the professor bringing one of the guys in the class to tears. Now, even though I always came to class relatively well prepared, and as a football player had performed in front of hundreds of thousands of people, I was terrified. that I would be called on. Making myself small and inconspicuous, however, was not one of the choices. What could I do? Well, after surviving the first few days, I noticed that the professor only called on those who looked like they were afraid, and he never called on anyone who raised their hand. So I started raising my hand. And for a while, that tactic was rewarded. But eventually, one day, I raised my hand, and he called on me. And without thinking, I stood up to answer the question, and my mind went blank. And it stayed blank. As I scrambled for a cohesive thought, I had momentary empathy for all those quarterbacks I'd been chasing for a living. But then somehow it hit me. I had to say something. Anything was better than silence. So I started speaking, and whatever I said must have been okay. But the experience taught me that preparation is critical to success, that we sometimes create our own greatest obstacles, that our fears rather than the actual situation is what limits us, and most importantly, that even when our fears cause us to stumble, good preparation will allow us to pick ourselves back up. To today's graduates, let me say congratulations for a job well done. Your preparation and hard work have paid off, and you should be very proud. What a wonderful gift you have given yourselves. And I can appreciate the conflicting emotions you're probably experiencing this morning. From the relief of having no more courses, finals, or tuition, to the anticipation that comes with new beginnings, to the sense of accomplishment and pride that we all share today. Recognizing that what I say may not be long remembered, normally I would focus my remarks on the future, on hope, and the role that each of us can play in making a better tomorrow. As Hamline graduates, each of you is uniquely positioned to do just that. Today, however, I want to focus on something a little different, something that I perceive to be a clear and present danger to our collective future. Looking around, we see greed, a lack of civility, if not aggressive incivility, political leaders saying one thing and then doing something entirely different, and lately, the acceptance in some circles of political bullying as the norm. If bullying is acceptable at the highest levels of our government, isn't it also acceptable for the average Jane or Joe or Jane or Joe's children? Of greater concern to me, are leaders who appear to see no problem in making demonstrably false statements as a matter of course. When our leaders send the message that lying is okay, democracy is put at risk. Clearly, everyone is entitled to their opinion. And there is certainly nothing wrong with having a robust debate about the reasonable inferences to be drawn from the facts. But none of us, and I repeat, none of us are entitled to our own facts. Simply put, we cannot allow lying to become normalized. We must be intentional about calling out lies and talking, especially to young children, about telling the truth, because lying strikes at the heart of trust, and without trust, we have nothing. To me, this is all symptomatic of a decline in our character. The American Heritage Dictionary once defined character as moral or ethical strength, integrity, fortitude. In a sense, character is who we are at our core. It's what determines what we believe and how we choose to respond to any given situation. Now, character is not something that we're born with, and it doesn't develop automatically. It must be consciously developed. Character is not static. Whether you're 50 or 15, 5 or 75, a member of the Hamline administration, faculty, staff, one of today's graduates, a family member or a friend of a graduate, or a Medal of Freedom recipient, you will be forced to reevaluate and renew your character again and again. To resist the pressures and temptations that seduce us to make the easy choices rather than the right choices. To be a person of character takes a strong person. And I don't mean strong in the physical sense, because physical stature really has nothing to do with character. I do mean strong in the sense of believing that each one of us has an obligation to act in ways that builds rather than diminishes our character and the character of those around us. That means we must be honest, saying what we mean and meaning what we say. It means keeping our promises, playing fairly, telling the truth, making decisions with others in mind, always treating people with respect, and respecting ourselves. It means working to figure out the difference between right and wrong, and then doing what is right. The fact that I was once considered to be a great football player, or that I was a Supreme Court justice, doesn't by itself mean that I'm a man of good character. The fact that the color of my skin may be different from yours doesn't mean that I am not a man of good character. The fact that your language, religion, or gender may be different from mine doesn't make either one of our characters better or worse. The outward differences which identify us as individuals do not define the content of our character. It is defined by how we act on an ongoing basis. Through our actions, we have the power to impact not only our own character, but as I suggested before, the character of those around us. Consciously applying the values you've learned at Hamline will serve you well as you strive to be a person of good character. Doing so will also serve society well as you go forward to make a difference in the world. Before I close, I would beg your indulgence just for a moment. For me, the law was, is, and always will be about ensuring justice. Etched into the facade of the United States Supreme Court building are the words, "Equal justice under law." But the law has not always provided justice, much less equal justice, to all segments of our society. In my view, with apologies to Emma Lazarus, until we all receive justice, we will none of us receive justice. As members of the class of 2019, you are among the privileged few. I ask that you use that privilege, the power that comes with it, and the tools you obtained here at Hamline to bend the moral arc of history toward justice for all. Why do I ask this of you? Because in the words of Dr. Seuss from the Lorax, Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It is not. Thank you. And again, congratulations to the class of 2019.